The 2024 US presidential election is just a few days away, and there's no doubt this is a crazy time to be alive. The country is about 50-50 split on Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, and there's obviously a lot of anxiety and frustration and excitement surrounding these next couple days. Now, there's a lot of important things to focus on in these next few days, but for those of us who follow Jesus, the most important question that we can be asking ourselves is, what does it look like to follow Jesus in this election? Whether you are Republican or Democrat, or maybe you're looking at both of these options and going, what in the world is going on? These next few days and weeks and months are going to be a very wild, crazy time, but they are also going to be an amazing opportunity to share the love of Jesus to the people around us. This is just a weird but true thing about Christianity, that when times are the toughest or the strangest or there's the most uncertainty, these are usually the best opportunities to share our faith and show the love of Jesus. And I believe that instead of being scared or anxious about this election, we can be excited that this is an opportunity for us to show Jesus's love to the people around us. Today, I want to look at Romans 13 because I think this is very relevant for our conversation today. Romans 13 gives us an opportunity to love more like Jesus during this time, and it also gives us an encouragement as believers. So let's go ahead and turn to Romans 13. We're going to start in verse 1. Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. Pay to all what is owed to them, taxes to whom taxes are owed, revenue to whom revenue is owed, respect to whom respect is owed, honor to whom honor is owed. Now, Romans chapter 13 is actually a very debated chapter among scholars, especially these first 7 verses about the role of Christians in government. However, this chapter is also very clear on some topics that are going to help us navigate this upcoming election. So, number 1, we need to respect those who are in authority. Now, this one is very difficult because it feels like most of the leaders in our lives, most of the politicians in our lives, give us many reasons not to respect them. However, Romans 13 is clear that we need to respect the authorities in our life, not because of anything they have done, but because God has placed them there. God chooses to work even through broken, sinful leaders. And this is one of the mysteries of God, that God will appoint a variety of different leaders to work his purposes in this world. An example of this would be Pharaoh in the Old Testament with the Israelite people. Paul even references this earlier in Romans chapter 9, where he says this, "For the scripture says to Pharaoh, for this very purpose I have raised you up, that I might show my power in you, and that my name might be proclaimed in all the earth." Remember, this is the Pharaoh who refused to let God's people go, and this is where Moses, through God's power, ends up sending all kinds of plagues to Egypt. And we can definitely say that Pharaoh was not a quote-unquote good guy, and yet God still appointed him in order to show his power. So in the same way, we have leaders today who certainly do not represent God's values and may not be good, godly people, and yet God has appointed them for his purposes. And while we may not agree with a person's policies or the way that they conduct themselves, and we are still allowed to call that out and challenge that, we have to respect that person because God has given them that position. As Christians, we need to be careful to respect whoever wins, whether it's Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. Whoever is our new president has been appointed by God, and we need to show proper honor and respect to that person simply because of their position. So regardless of what happens at the election, we need to be careful about what we say to our friends, what we post on social media. Again, it's not wrong to disagree with a candidate. However, we need to make sure that we are doing this in a respectful, loving way. Whether you're Republican or Democrat, whether you're voting for Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, if we as a church stand up and are known for our respect and honor for our leaders, I think that would go a long way in showing the love of Jesus to those who are looking from the outside in. We respect our leaders not because of anything that they have done, but because God has put them there for a special purpose. And that leads us to our second point, that God is in control. We need to be careful not to put our ultimate trust in a political party or a person. Rather, our trust should be in God. And this is what Romans 13 is so clear about. Whoever wins this election was appointed by God. Again, this is not an endorsement on their moral character or the policies that they have. Remember, God worked through Pharaoh in the Old Testament, who was very much so against God. And this can hopefully be an encouragement, because no matter what the results of this election are, there's at least going to be about half this country who's going to be very frustrated and upset and wrestle with these results. There's going to be many people who are just going to be frustrated no matter who wins this election. I may not be happy with what happened in the election, but I can trust that God knows best and he has appointed this person for specific reasons. So if you are a follower of Jesus, I encourage you to try to take a step back from how polarized and crazy things are. And remember that our trust is in God, and God is going to be at work no matter who wins this election. Our job as Christians is the same, no matter what happens. We are called to love God and love other people. And we can do that whether Kamala Harris is president or whether Donald Trump is president. As a final encouragement, I want to leave you with the same encouragement that the Apostle Paul gives the Corinthians church, where he writes this: so that your faith might not rest in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. We serve a God who is actively at work in our world and even our U.S. elections. I pray that we use this election as an opportunity to show Jesus' love to the people around us. I hope this video was helpful to you. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.